Welcome to this week's Go Bus Sports Live Show. I'm Harrison Simeon.
And I'm Zachary Usensaw.
It's February 6th, a week and a day from Valentine's. Zach, what is love?
You know, I think that love is something that I feel right here for you, Harrison.
That means more to me than you'll ever imagine. We start with the men's Hoopers, who snapped their 6-game losing streak at home against TCU on Sunday. Head coach Tad Boyle shook the snow globe, putting 3 true freshmen in the starting lineup for the first time in their careers. The switch worked. CU controlled the game from the jump, holding the Horned Frogs to just 32% shooting in the first half. In his first career start, freshman Josiah Sanders played his heart out, recording 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Colorado offense was on point all game, shooting 55% from the field and drilling 11 out of their 23 attempted three-pointers.
The men's basketball squad was unable to keep up with the Baylor Bears, losing by 19 points in Waco, Texas. Baylor's defense gave the Buffs all that they could handle, holding Colorado to just 40% from the floor. The Black and Gold got off to a rough start, turning the ball over 9 times in the first half alone, which Baylor was able to capitalize on and turned into 15 points. Baylor's Tunde Yusufu played a great game. He scored a game-high 27 points on 10 for 16 from the field. He also had 7 rebounds, 1 block, and a steal. The Buffs will have a chance to bounce back Saturday night against the Arizona State Sun Devils.
CU hosts ASU on Saturday. It will be the second meeting between the teams this season. Their first matchup was back in January in Tempe, a game the Buffaloes won 95-89. Colorado will have to focus on shutting down Sun Devils star guard Maurice Odom. He recorded 21 points in the team's first meeting, creating a defensive nightmare for CU's guards. Tip-off is set for 7:30 Mountain Time at the CU Event Center and can be watched live on ESPN2.
Colorado men's basketball gets another shot at Texas Tech this week after a wild first meeting in Boulder. The Buffs trailed by as many as 24 points before rallying late and ultimately falling by a single possession with a final score of 73-71. Since then, Colorado has shown stretches of better offense and more connected defense, but has struggled to close games consistently in Big 12 play. Texas Tech enters as one of the league's most dangerous teams from deep, taking and making the most three-pointers per game in the Big 12 while still playing physical on the glass. With revenge on the mind and conference positioning at stake, expect an intense rematch out of this game.
Welcome into Buff Banner. I'm Jake Chow, joined here with Mason Davis, and we're on the seats. You know who else is on the hot seat? Tad Boyle. Another maybe disappointing season, Mason. Is it time for the Buffs to move on from their head coach of 16 years?
I do think it is time for Colorado men's basketball to move on from Tad Boyle. Repeated being decent, but we are striving for more here in Boulder. Only one Elite 8 appearance, or one Tweet 16 appearance, no Elite 8 appearance in 16 years. I think late game offensive struggles. The defensive identity is there, but I want to see a little bit of change. I think now is the perfect time to move on from Tad and bring in some new leadership for the men's basketball team.
Yeah, certainly, Mason. And, I agree with you. It is kind of a mediocre thing here. But you have to remember that Boulder has historically been a football school, right? They never have built their identity on basketball. And so when you look at Sweet 16s and Elite 8s, that's not really what Colorado's been known for historically. And so that's why I think it's okay, right? And maybe we need to temper it down. I don't think that Tad should be fired at the end of this season. And especially when we look at the core that he has built, a young core. You only look at 3 upperclassmen in Elijah Malone, Bangott Dak, and Barrington Hargress. You look at what Tad is building right now, and I think you should be excited for the future, and that it's really important that they have that cohesion moving forward.
I do agree. I think that young leaders or that young talent is something that should really be important, but I also think if you brought in a new face, maybe a younger head coach to go along with that young talent, we could see newer heights here in Boulder. With a new athletic director, a younger talent, something like that. I think a new head coach that could bring in a new identity instead of just Tad's solid defense, bringing in a young coach, maybe an offensive mind from another school that could uplift our offense with this young talent. I think we could see new heights in Boulder in terms of Sweet 16s, Elite 8s. We've seen schools that are primarily focused more on football or more on basketball and build their programs on the other side up to something more. Just more engagement from the fans, everybody. I think to just boost everything up.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Colorado were to move on, this would be the time with that new athletic director and kind of at a point where they're not sure exactly what the identity is. But the way that the college landscape is shifting is the cohesion matters. When coaches leave, players leave. I mean, look at Oklahoma State with their coach leaving in football. They had 60 guys hit the transfer portal for football, of course, and it's a little bit of a different story there. But it's ever more important and increasingly more important that coaches stay if they want to keep the culture of their team. And they're building a culture in Boulder right now, and I think that's why it's important that they have Tad at the helm.
I do see that. I think that there is a way to retain our young talent, keep these freshmen here, while replacing Tad. I think we've looked at programs in college basketball over the past decade, half decade. We've seen programs like Kansas State going on to Jerome Tang, and teams like UCLA going to Mick Cronin. They saw instant success within 2 years, going from kind of like where Colorado was, middle of the pack, middle of the conference, shooting up into, we saw the hype of Kansas State and everything, national attention there, and then UCLA reaching the Final Four in Mick Cronin's just second year. I think Colorado could do something near that with a new head coach.
Yeah, I just worry about who would be leaving if that is the case. But that's Buff Banner. Head coach Tad Boyle, is he on the hot seat? Back to you guys at the desk.
Dang, pretty scathing. Thank you, Jake and Mason. On the women's side, Colorado basketball completed an undefeated weekend on the road. In an overtime thriller against the Kansas Jayhawks last Sunday, Ziana Walker scored a career-high 24 points on 50% shooting. Jade Masagayo tacked on an additional 21. Desiree Wooten added 15 from the bench, including game-sealing free throws in a 69-66 win over KU.
The Buffs kept it close with number 20 ranked West Virginia on Wednesday. Masagayo led the way with 13 points, while Betson brought down 10 rebounds and tacked on 7 points. Colorado got the lead as close as 2 points, but the Mountaineers pulled away in the final 5 minutes. The Buffs out-rebounded and had more bench points than West Virginia, but ultimately fell 61-55.
Looking forward, the Buffs will have their hands full against a well-rounded TCU team. The Horned Frogs sit atop the Big 12 standings and are ranked 12th in the nation. Led by Olivia Miles and Clara Silva, TCU is a top 15 defensive rebounding team while allowing the lowest field goal percentage in the country. Miles has 3 double-doubles and 4 triple-doubles on the season. Colorado will look to spell upset at the CU Event Center. Tip-off is set for 1 p.m. on Sunday.
The Buffs will go on the road to play the Houston Cougars next Wednesday. Houston is just 1-9 in their last 10 games and sits 7-15 overall. The Buffs will look to slow down the Cougars' offense with their methodical defense. Tip-off is set for 5:30 p.m. and will be streamed live on ESPN+.
Sophomore forward Tabitha Betson is a big part of the Buff squad should they make the NCAA tournament. And after a quick leave of absence, she's back and better than ever. Here's Jake Chow with the scoop.
Head coach J.R. Payne and the Colorado women's basketball team is living life on the bubble. The 2026 squad looks nothing like the 2025 team, with only 4 returners, including sophomore forward Tabitha Betson, who has taken a step forward.
Tabitha is one of the most versatile players on our team. I think she's leading us in three-point field goal percentage. She's just a really smart player. She's played at a high level back home in Australia and here in the U.S. And, you know, as a veteran of the team, being here last year, she understands our system and the things that we're looking for and the way that we do things. And she's been a really critical piece to our success this year.
I feel like being one of like the 3 kind of returners is like a kind of a big deal, you know, especially with all these new people trying to kind of like set the scene of what the coaches want. I think going home and then coming back kind of like took me a little step back in that, obviously, because I'm new back into the group again. But I think very quickly they were like, no, you know what you're supposed to be doing, you know what they're supposed to be doing, so kind of take on that role. Which is what I've been doing more recently.
Betson took some time away from Boulder to visit her family back in Melbourne, Australia, as she thought about the next steps in her life. But at its center, basketball never left.
I think it honestly refocused me in terms of like figuring out, okay, basketball is really like what I want and it's such a big part of myself.
And so it was like she never left Boulder. Despite that overhauled roster and the new faces, Betson and the Buffs never faltered.
You know, for a new player that's coming back in the middle of the season, you know, I didn't have any concerns, but I think she was a little bit worried just, you know, she's new and everyone's been here.
I was like, okay, like how is the team gonna feel about me going and coming back? But honestly, they were really welcoming.
Betson will be a key for the Buffs, should they pop their madness bubble as they make a run towards March.
They were a huge part of it. They definitely were like, she is a part of our team. Like she is really important to kind of like leadership and like on-court stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have her back, you know, for lots of different reasons. You know, for her leadership and composure and experience. And she's also just a really good player.
I was really close with like Jade last year and she's a huge part of our team, huge part of our offense, and just her like immediate like acceptance and valuing what I'm saying and playing with me. I think that also helps set the tone with like other people as well.
This is Jake Chow reporting for Go Buff Sports.
She's done a great job of, like I said, keeping us organized, communicating through, you know, problem solving on the floor.
Colorado Lacrosse kicks off his season this Monday with a big game against the number 2 ranked Northwestern Wildcats. The Buffs are 1-5 all time against the Wildcats with a 20-5 loss in their matchup last season. Northwestern fell just short of the national championship last season, falling to North Carolina 12-8 in the final. The Buffs will have their work cut out for them, and CU will head to Martin Stadium in Evanston, Illinois, an arena it has never won in, to battle the Wildcats at 6 p.m., streamed live on Big Ten Plus.
Colorado heads into this season predicted to place third in the Big 12. Well, I'm disappeared for lacrosse and had 4 players earn Big 12 preseason honors. Jess Peluso won preseason co-defender of the year. Elena O took home preseason goalie of the year, while Maddie Shoup and Lily Assini made preseason All Big 12, along with Peluso and O. Buff fans will get their first chance to see those 4 and more in person on February 15th against the Cornell Bears at Prentup Field. CU won't play its first conference game against March 28th against San Diego State at home.
The Buff ski team nearly completed a remarkable comeback at the Nevada Invitational, rallying from a 61-point deficit to pull within 8 points of Utah by the end of the meet. Colorado surged during the giant slalom events behind a dominant showing where the CU men swept the podium for the first time in a decade to score a perfect 111 points. Nordic teams return to action next weekend at the Denver Invitational, now at the Frisco Nordic Center this Saturday.
And the opening ceremony has finally begun for the 2026 Milano Cortina Olympics. 8 Buffs are participating in this year's games, 2 of whom are current CU athletes. Hugo Hinkvist and Jacob Mock will compete in the Nordic skiing for teams Australia and Germany, respectively. Estonia's Alvar Alev will join Hinkvist and Mock on the Nordic Trail. Canada's Cass Gray will join USA's Ryder Sarchit on the Alpine slopes. Sarchit was part of the Buffs' 2024 National Championship winning team and is the first male alpine skier from CU in nearly 30 years. USA's Stacy Gaskill will take part in snowboarding, Sway Irving in freeski, and Joanne Reed in biathlon.
All right, everybody, and now it is time for this week's trivia question. 8 Olympians are representing the Buffs at this year's Olympic Games in Milano Cortina. And our question for you this week, what year saw the most Buffs compete in the Winter Olympics? We'll have that answer for you later in the show.
Welcome to Folsom Feud. I'm your host, Colby, here with 3 contestants today, Lincoln, Balin, and Kieran. Lincoln, start us off.
I'll take game day etiquette for 200.
All right. This is the best way to show respect during the CU fight song.
What is standing, singing loud, and raising your hand in the hook 'em horn sign?
Not what we're looking for. Balin, you have an answer?
What is stand up, sing loud, and do the Ralphie horns?
Correct. Balin, the board is yours.
Give me tailgate traditions for 400.
All right, here's the answer. The must-have item to wear on game day to show your Buff pride. Kieran?
What is black and gold?
That's correct. Nothing says school spirit like those 2 colors. Choose the next one.
Let's do fan etiquette for 600.
Fan etiquette. The proper response when you hear someone yell, "Go Buffs."
What is Skull Buffs?
Skull Buffs is right. Looks like we've got some true Buffs fans here. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to our contestants, and see you next time.
The women's golf squad did not have a great start to their spring season, placing 10th out of 12 teams at the Collegiate Invitational at Guadalajara, Mexico. Ellen O'Shaughnessy finished the tournament 3 over and tied for 15th place. She was the highest placing Buff of the tournament and recorded the only round under par for the team. All other members of the Colorado quintet finished 11 over or worse, plummeting the total score to 39 over on the weekend. The Buffs traveled to Tucson, Arizona to compete in the Thunderbird Intercollegiate starting on Monday.
Buffs track and field is back in action today, and this time it's right here at home. The annual Colorado Classic is taking place in Boulder at the Ford Practice Facility, one of the Buffs' key indoor home meets of the season. Field events got underway at noon today, while the track athletes will look to build on their strong starts to the season. Tomorrow. The men's distance squad currently holds the top spot in the NCAA Indoor Mile. Fans can find out if it can keep that momentum going tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the Ford Practice Facility.
Last weekend, the tennis team defeated Miami of Ohio 6-1 to improve to 3-0 on the season. However, the team then traveled to Denver on Sunday, where they suffered their first loss 4-2 against the Pios. CU is still undefeated in doubles play, but its efforts in singles matchups fell just short of DU's. Tennis has this weekend to rest before traveling to Minneapolis to take on 3 different opponents next weekend.
CU women's hockey is in a bit of a tough stretch late in the regular season. The Buffs lost both games last weekend to the Utah Utes, both by a score of 2-1. But they have a chance to turn it around and get revenge on the Utes at home this weekend. The Buffs play tonight at 5 on Hockey Fights Cancer Night and Saturday morning on Youth Hockey Day. Those games will be streamed live on ScoBuff Sports, so stay tuned.
The regular season may be finished for men's D2 hockey, but the playoffs are just getting started. This Saturday at 3, Colorado will face off against either the University of Wyoming or Colorado State. The Cowboys and Rams will play against each other on Friday night at 8 p.m. in Fort Collins, the winner earning the 4th spot in the Big Mountain Hockey Conference Tournament to play against the first-time conference championship Buffs. Saturday's game will be at the CU Rec Ice Rink and streamed live right here on ScoBuff Sports on YouTube.
Men's D1 hockey is still in the regular season and plays its penultimate home series this weekend against San Diego State. The Buffs and Aztecs sit at the bottom of the Western Collegiate Hockey League standings, with CU in 10th and SDSU in 11th. Colorado has lost 4 in a row and is 2-10 and 2-8 in his last 10 games, but it wasn't all bad as CU was able to break its New Year's scoreless streak in its 2-game series against Missouri State. Puck drop against the Aztecs is at 8 p.m. on Friday and 7 on Saturday, with both games at the Rec and right here on ScoBuff Sports.
We're just a few days away from Super Bowl 60, the big game in Santa Clara. Sunday's game will feature one former Colorado Buffalo on the NFL's biggest stage. Brady Russell, class of 2023, is the current fullback and a backup tight end for the Seattle Seahawks. He also serves as the special teams captain of the franchise. Russell is the first alum to represent the program since Isaiah Oliver in Super Bowl 58. Despite several alumni to play in the past few years, no former Buff has been on a championship-winning roster since Nate Soldier with the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 53. Christian Gonzalez, New England's top cornerback, also spent 2 seasons with the Buffaloes before transferring to Oregon, where he became a future first-round draft pick.
Hey Buff fans, I'm Kieran Walker bringing you this week's top 5 plays in Colorado sports. A bit of a lull in the action again this weekend, but nonetheless, we're still got some stuff to cover, so let's dive right in. Going to number 5, we go to women's hoops against West Virginia. Desiree Woot off the fast break. She'll get that open layup right over the defender for the Mountaineers. Let's get a slow-mo look at that going up that right side, laying it up. Boom, ladies and gentlemen, off that fast break. What a play. The Buffs only down by 3. Let's go to men's hoops now for number 4, this time against the Baylor Bears. Tough game here, but it's stolen by Josiah Sanders, and he's going to send it over to Jalen Holland, who launches for 3, and he gets it from downtown, right between the eyes. That was a tough game against Baylor, though, I will admit. Let's go to women's hockey now for number 3. It's picked up by Sophie O'Brien going up that far side of the rink. Takes a shot. Rebound in by Fischelli. She tips it in right out in front. What a play. And that game is tied at 1. Tough series, though. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Pro Bowl. Look, it's Shador Sanders and Garrett Bowles. You can't keep him out of the end zone. Ladies and gentlemen, Bowles' second touchdown of the game for the AFC. And just look at this. Sanders, tremendous accuracy, and Bowles making that tremendous catch. I don't think I've ever seen a lineman score a touchdown, but it's the Pro Bowl. Anything can happen. Now for number 1 now, let's go over to Isaiah Johnson. And the Dak attack! A monster slam for Bangot Dak against the TCU Horned Frogs right here in Boulder. Huge win for Colorado. That's going to do it for this week here on ScoBuff Sports Play of the Week. I'm Kieran Walker, wishing you a wonderful weekend.
Here we see Xavier McNevitz working on his reader for the live show. If we didn't have these readers done by Thursday night, chances are we would not be airing this show right now. Be like Xavier. Get your readers done. And don't forget to click save so that you don't lose any of your hard-earned work.
Well, I don't know if you have any plans Sunday morning at 3:30 a.m., but if you do, you're going to need to cancel them because this is rapid fire. Starting off tomorrow, Saturday, we got the Colorado Classic indoor track and field event. It's going all day long. You're not going to want to miss any of the track or the field. After that, we're going to have men's basketball taking on Arizona State Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Great way to just enjoy your Saturday night. Fun fact, they'll have $3 beers and snacks before the game. Then, not at 1 p.m., but at 3:30 a.m., like I mentioned, we have got the downhill race at the Olympics where, I won't say who, but there is a CU alumni racing. Also, couldn't include it here, but it's a double header. Then at 4:30, there's like the 10K in Nordic, also featuring some CU student athletes. But last but not least, how are you going to pregame the Super Bowl? Obviously, It's Colorado women basketball taking on Texas Christian University. Come on, the Horned Frogs. Also $3 beers before the game. It'll be a hoot. Back to you in the studio. That's rapid fire.
And now it's time for your answer to this week's trivia question. As a reminder, we asked you, what year saw the most Buffs compete in a Winter Olympics? The answer is, drumroll please, 1972, which saw 13 Buffaloes competing.
Rather than the tweet of the week, we're shouting out some SCO Buffers who officially made our club award-winning. Roberto Patrick Gera, our longtime photo director, won 3rd place of the 2026 Rushies Awards for this gorgeous snap of Ralphie. And just this afternoon, our business reporter and director of morale, Lincoln Roach, won the Hearst Sports Writing Competition for his in-depth coverage of anti-Mormon behavior from CU students at September's BYU football game. Congrats, Berto and Lincoln. And that's all for this week's live show. Hope you guys have a lovely weekend.
You know, Harrison, I hope you're still feeling all the love that I have for you, as I expressed earlier in the show.
The feeling is mutual.
Well, I'm really so glad to hear that. For all of us here at SCO Buffs Road, so hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And remember, you heard it here first.